All right. Hey, what's going on, everyone? Let me make sure that I am situated on this side. I feel like I'm playing a little bit of catch up this morning. And it never fails. I'm going to start at 9:30. 9:30 turns into 9:34. And then 9:38. I just want to make sure that I am broadcasting on YouTube. Of course, if I see someone comment, I know that I am. There's one person already. There was a comment in here. There was a comment in here from Passport OG, but he might have left that last week or last night. I don't know. It said 7:30 p.m. I was going to do this last week, but I had gotten back from the trip and I was exhausted because I had to go straight back to work. And so this morning is just going to be a short talk in the next hour about visiting the Panama Canal. Tony's the first one in. Tony, salute. Thank you for being here. I'll see you guys on the other side of the nameless protagonist intro, my nameless protagonist intro, the Mouse Utopia, which is getting a lot of attention today. All right, so I have to have him come back soon, but I'll probably need to take a break to think all of this out, because as a YouTuber, you get to a point where you start making so much content, and I have multiple platforms, and you just have to sit down and think and reset. All right, here we go. So I'm thinking about what you're saying, and I think this is the significance of when you say the technology is running so far out ahead of the biology, right? Because it's almost shattering that part of our natural programming.
So what's going on, what that really talks to is the reason why it's done that way is our systems operate on a seniority-based modality. So the older the particular system we've adopted, the more powerful that neurological pathway and impulse. That's why these studies are critical. Everything in our biology is predicated on these kinds of principles. The reasons why we were able to evolve as a group, because there were certain things that we were able to lean on from the group aggregate existence that allows for us to do things as individuals that are defined as healthy. And when you begin to do wholesale swapping out on a one-for-one of social modality versus technological introduction, then you begin to atrophy a lot of these things, and you start having deficiencies in ways you had no idea, or you get unintended emergent behavior, as we're seeing with the behavioral sinks, for example. It's all connected to social roles, in my subjective opinion.
Welcome to Big Discussions 76, Science and Technology. Science and technology stories are all around us, and there are always science and technology stories to tell. Hey, good morning. Good morning, everyone. I'm getting over a throat cold. I think it's gone, or it's on the back end. Now these things tend to move up like this. And I was coughing yesterday, and then I tried to live stream on Wednesday night over on my original channel, and I was losing my voice, and my throat was drying up. So hopefully I have my voice for the next 45 minutes. So I just wanted to come on and do a quick stream on visiting the Panama Canal. Let's see who's watching this. People, they don't always comment on your content until you get into personal conversation with them. So you never know who's watching until they say something. But I know a few guys who are watching. Tony, thank you for being here. Cynical Optimist, looks like Tony beat you in this morning. Thank you for being here. And Michael, thank you for being here as well. He says, get well soon. Yeah, I think I'm on the back end. I'm feeling less burn, less scratchiness. So these things, they come and then they pass away. Guys, please like, share, and subscribe. If anyone wants to donate anything to the channel, my information is there in the ticker. No super chat or super thanks over here. I don't know if I'll ever get those functions over here. And I noticed that a lot of the science channels, they don't have any. They don't have any. Something just came on my screen there. Many of the science channels, the bigger science channels, like the Heartland Institute and the Tom. He's another climate guy. His podcast, they're not monetized, and that may have something to do with their subject matter. Long story short, it'll be a while before I'm monetized over here, if ever. Give me a second, because I like that podcast. I haven't watched it recently. These are climate deniers. Tom Nelson. All right. Oh, Akuseki, salute to you. I haven't seen you in a while. Okay, so I appreciate you being here. All right, guys. So I took a little field trip 2 weeks ago, Valentine's Day weekend. I got out of Dodge for Valentine's Day weekend, and I treated myself to a field trip to Central America. So I went to go see the Panama Canal. I went to Panama. Unfortunately, I had planned to do it late last year, but there were a couple of factors that just built up and made me decide to postpone the trip. Some of it was that darn day job. Part of it was day job related stuff. All right. Part of it was just wanting to have some more time to plan and make arrangements to figure out what I wanted to do when I got there. And then the other thing was the government shutdown. Okay, so the government shutdown, that the air travel system was completely fried during the government shutdown, and it got to that point, and it just wasn't smart. And for me, it wasn't smart to try to fly somewhere, because once I canceled that trip, I decided, okay, well, I'm going to go to Fort Lauderdale that weekend instead, just to get away. And I decided that the air traffic control business got so bad, I decided, okay, well, I'm not going there either. Long story short, I postponed it to Valentine's Day weekend. This weekend, there was a government holiday, so I was able to get enough time. Unfortunately, I flew from here, the DC area, to Miami and then down. Okay. We were trying to land in Miami, and I was up first thing that morning, and there was a tremendous fog at the Miami International Airport. So the pilot, you could feel the plane coming down, and I could see the actual ground. And then the pilot got spooked, and you could feel the plane just jettison back up before we landed. So I said, okay, well, maybe we'll circle around for a little bit and then try to land again. But he flew us all the way up to Palm Springs for about an hour because we had to refuel. And then by the time we were up and back in the air and then back down at Miami International Airport, I missed my connection, and there weren't any more flights going down to Panama City that day. So fortunately, they were able to rebook me for the next day. So I was there for three nights. I was supposed to be there for 4. So that happens. And that means I just have to go back at some point, hopefully sooner than later. All right. So on my original channel, I might talk about the entire trip. But over here, we have a science and technology focus. So I'm going to center it around that. I'm going to show you guys some, we'll look at some maps and then we'll look at some, a diagram of the canal in terms of its sea level. And then I'll show you some pictures and then I'll wrap up. So if you guys have any comments or thoughts or anything throughout, please feel free to let me know. Let me hydrate. My throat. And let's go. All right. So before I now going overseas is a big deal. You know, you're hearing a lot about passport bros and expats and people looking to relocate. Since we live in the United States, people are looking to relocate outside of the United States. For me, this was just a field trip. Okay, just to get away, just to see the canal, just to see what Panama City was like, and see some other things. And that's what this was for me. So before I left, months in advance, I was doing my own research. YouTube is a big search engine, so I'm going to pull up a map here of Central and South America. And you guys let me know what you think about any of this. Yeah, so you guys know this is a review. You know, we live here in North America, and I'm thinking about the news about the cartels in Mexico. So Mexico is considered a part of North America. We're doing some geography here. So yeah, Central America here, which starts at Guatemala and extends down to Panama. Then you have South America here. Long story short, what used to happen before airlines, before railroads, ships used to have to sail. If you wanted to get from the Atlantic Ocean over to the Pacific Ocean, it used to be that you had to sail all the way around South America down here to Cape Horn in Chile. This country, right? This is the tip. This is the very edge of South America right there. Okay. That's called Cape Horn. The Passport OG has entered the building. He says, I've always wanted to go see the canal. Peace, Passport OG. Thank you for your tireless, great work. So it used to be that you had to sail down and around Cape Horn here. This is actually also called the Drake Passage. This passage here. It's not a wide stretch of ocean, but what's also unique about this is where the Atlantic meets the Pacific. Okay, this is literally the edge of the world, and it's not very far from Antarctica. Okay. I didn't realize these were so close, South America and Antarctica. Okay, so it's got to be very cold down there, but the waters, Passport OG said it, are very dangerous for sea travel. Okay, the very, very dangerous, very tumultuous, giant waves, violent waters, all of that. So even for bigger ships, this stretch of water is very, very dangerous. So you can imagine it's probably safer now with modern technology and modern cargo ships. But if you think back to using those old British, Spanish, French wooden pirate ships with sails. I mean, yeah, you're really gambling with your life. You were gambling with your life trying to sail through here on one of those ships. So long story short, it used to be that all ships to get from the Atlantic to the Pacific had to sail down around Cape Horn and then all the way back up the coast of Chile, Peru, and Ecuador up to wherever it is you want it to go here on the West Coast. Okay, so that's how it used to be. Okay, then someone got the good idea. Okay, well, let's just build a canal in Central America here, so ships can go right across like this and then come out the other side, and vice versa. So the slimmest, the thinnest stretch of land is here in Panama. Panama is considered an isthmus, which means it's a straight. I should ask you guys what an isthmus is, but I don't want to belabor this thing. I'm watching the clock here, but an isthmus is a stretch of land that's surrounded by water on both sides. Okay, that's an isthmus. So Panama is an isthmus. Does anybody? I will do this one. Does anybody know what makes a peninsula versus an island? What makes a peninsula versus an island? Anybody? I'll probably give it about a minute. Passport OG. He's fully dialed in here. Appreciate this. He says, I think he's referring to a peninsula. Yep, surrounded on three sides by water. That is a peninsula. So you could argue, yeah, Florida. I believe Florida. Yep, Passport OG. I was thinking the same thing. Florida is a peninsula. Whoops, wrong one. Get out of there. Florida is a peninsula. Okay. What else is a peninsula? Probably the lowermost tip of Louisiana is a peninsula. Okay, island. Okay, so you guys are fully dialed in here. Yeah, Tony says Italy. Yep, that would be considered a peninsula. Aquateki says Delmarva. In Maryland, that's a peninsula. Okay, yeah. So you're surrounded by three sides of water. Passport OG, thank you. Yucatan. Yeah. So you're surrounded by three sides of water there. That's a peninsula. An island is completely surrounded, and an isthmus is a bridge of land that's surrounded by two sides of water, and that's what Panama is. So Panama. Let's get rid of this. Oh, is Thailand a peninsula as well? Okay, I haven't been, so I don't know. All right. I think, and also Korea. I think Korea is a peninsula with the South Korea on the bottom and North Korea on top, attached to land. All right. So we'll get rid of that one. So Panama. And this was my second trip to Central America. I had gone to Belize a couple of years ago. That is a non-Spanish speaking country. Let me zoom out for a second here. And I may give a longer talk on the trip on my original channel shortly. So Central America. So I had been to Belize, which is right here. That is a non-Spanish speaking country. I think it's the only non-Spanish speaking country in South America. Oh boy, look who's here. Author and fellow scientist, physicist Lee Phillips, the purple butterfly. ¿Cómo estás, Señor Lee? He says, hi, Anwar. Lee Phillips here. My favorite geographical fact about Panama is that it's the only place where part of the Atlantic is to the west of the Pacific. Yeah. I saw that riddle, that fun fact before I left, and I was thinking about the entire. I was thinking about it the entire time I was here. Let's take a quick look at it since Lee brought that to our attention. But before we do that, so I think Belize is the only non-Spanish speaking country in Central America. So that's flanked by Guatemala, and then Honduras and El Salvador and Nicaragua, Costa Rica, and then Panama. And then after Panama, you're right there in South America. Panama used to be a part of Colombia. I'll say a few words about that shortly. And interestingly, the southern part of Panama is called the Darien Passage, which is very dangerous jungle. So there's no, if you look at the map, there's no road that goes through the Darien Passage into Colombia. So it's very, very dangerous and treacherous land, jungle. And a lot of people risk their lives migrating from South America into Panama and then up to the United States, which I think we saw a lot of that during the Biden Harris administration. But let's go back to what Lee Phillips just said. Thank you for that, Lee. If you look at this geographically here, so there's the city, there's Panama City, and Lee says, my favorite geographical fact about Panama is that it's the only place where part of the Atlantic Ocean is to the west. Okay, so if you look at this, so this is the Atlantic Ocean / Caribbean Sea. Is to the west of the country, of the city. Okay, and if you look at this map of Panama, I'm sorry, he said to the west of the Pacific. So that's right. So those are your reference points. The solid in here, south of the city, that's the Pacific Ocean. So this is the only place where the Atlantic is west of the Pacific. Thank you for that, Lee. I'll just leave that there because it's a bit of a mind bender for me. But if you put Panama into YouTube, you'll get all kinds of videos, nightclubs, restaurants, sightseeing, the canal. In this little isthmus, there is a lot to see. Okay, there's a lot to see besides the city and the canal. There's the city of David, there's Boquete, there's Bocas del Toro, there's that's in Costa Rica. There's Santiago. There's a lot more to see besides just the city. So that's one thing I wanted to get over to the audience. So you might need to, if you're interested in visiting that country, schedule more than a long weekend, or else plan to go back. All right. So the canal. Let's zoom in on the canal. So the canal is actually adjacent to the city. Okay. All right. I'm going to try to put the entire picture here. So Tocumen Airport is actually right over here. When we landed, the plane descended over Panama Bay here, circled around the city, and then circled back. So I was able to see some of the landmarks in the water here, like the Amador Causeway. You could see ships all in here. But the canal itself is actually adjacent to the city here. Okay. So what this is, so you have, look at my slides here. So you have this entry point up at the top, okay, around the city of Cologne. And the northern locks, so a brief history. So France attempted to build the canal first. And this is a very, very condensed discussion of it. But France attempted to build the canal first. in much the same way that they built the canal in Egypt. But the geography, the biology, the temperature, all of it was much more challenging than doing it in Egypt. So they eventually abandoned it, ceased, and then that's when the United States picked it up. Okay, and so the United States took control of this canal zone, quote unquote. Okay, and this is a very, very just brief history of this. This is a whole set of discussions in itself. But the United States built these Gatun locks here at the top. Okay, and then there's this lake here in the middle called Gatun Lake. Okay, so that's an actual body of water there in the middle. And then you have this passageway here at the bottom leading to the Miraflores locks. So what you could do is, if you want to see the canal, you can either go here adjacent to the city to the Miraflores locks at the bottom here near Balboa. Okay. Or you could do what I did, which was to take a tour up here to the top to the Agua Clara locks at the top. Okay. So what happened was the United States, the canal that the United States finished and built was good for its time, but it was smaller. Okay, and it had swinging doors like this. And then when Panama took it over in the late 1990s, they built the Agua Clara locks. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys some pictures right now. Before I show you my pictures, I'm going to show you this as well. The lake itself is fed by this. The Chagres River. Okay, that's coming from the ocean and is feeding the lake. Okay, so the lake needs this artery here. And actually, what used to happen before the canal was built, what Spain used to do is they set up this castle here, Castillo de San Lorenzo. I visited that. I have a couple of pictures of that. They would take this waterway inland, okay, and then they had routes. They had a route that they would continue by foot. So it was a very, very, before the canal was built, it was a very, very strenuous and arduous journey from the Atlantic side into the interior of the country and then to the Pacific. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, Passport OG, that's a very, very good question. I did pull something up. Let's see if we can get an answer to that, Passport OG, right now, because as a biological scientist, as I was there looking at this, I was wondering about what the aquatic life in the canal and the lake was. So let's jump right to this, Passport OG. Okay, so the Panama Canal's ecosystem has shifted from a primarily freshwater system to one dominated by marine fish, with saltwater species accounting for 76% of fish biomass in Gatun Lake. Following the 2016 expansion, species like snook, jack, snappers, and white-spotted jellyfish have moved into the freshwater, displacing the native species. So it used to be what I'm gleaning from that is that it used to be a freshwater system, but now more ocean saltwater species are coming in, and they have displaced the freshwater organisms. So very, very quickly, key aquatic species and ecological shifts, marine invasions, large predatory marine species, including 18 from the Atlantic and 5 from the Pacific, have colonized Gatun Lake, which sits 26 meters above sea level. Displaced species, native freshwater fish such as peacock bass, tilapia, have decreased in population due to the influx of saltwater species. Manatees. Manatees are popular in South Florida. Manatees, as an isolated population of approximately 16 endangered Antillean Greater Caribbean manatees, inhabits the Gatun Lake system. Risks, the increased salinity and traffic are allowing for potential and at times documented movement of species between the Pacific and Atlantic, creating environmental risks for local biodiversity. And then finally, reptiles. The canal and the surrounding watershed also are also inhabited by caimans and crocodiles. Okay, keep that in the back of your mind. All right, so I think that gets to that. I was curious about the aquatic life. Passport OG was curious about the salinity of the lake. So there you go. All right, I'm gonna instead of trying to load all these pictures into StreamYard, there's a limit. I decided to just show you these from a PowerPoint slide deck. So I'm gonna bounce between this and that. So this, we'll start here with this one. And you guys keep letting me know if you have any questions or comments. If I can answer them, I will. This shows you the sea level. This shows you the sea level difference on both sides. So Gatun Lake is 26 meters above sea level. So what the canal actually does is it lifts those ships on both sides up through up to Gatun Lake. The ships go to the other side, and then they're lowered for that other side. So that happens going from the Atlantic side to the Pacific side, or going from the Pacific side to the Atlantic side. So you can see there at the Pacific side, those are the Miraflores locks, and over on the Atlantic side, those are the Gatun locks. Now the Agua Clara locks, or they may even be synonymous. Oh, you guys didn't even see that. I'm sorry. Let me do that again. I don't think you guys saw that. Did you guys see that? Were you guys able to see that? Say something, somebody, because I tried to share it. This is what I'll do. Let's try that one more time, because you guys were supposed to see that. Aquateki, did you see the canal? Did you see the sea level cartoon? Okay, so you guys saw it. It projected. All right. So let's see. So let's go back. What else do I want to show you guys here? I'm going to show you guys some random pictures here. This is me. And this is my tour guide, Omar, who was referred to me. He was a very good tour guide. Here we were at the San Lorenzo castle / fortress at the mouth of the Chagres River. Okay, that's Omar Valencia from Panama Sightseeing. I believe that's what they call themselves. Let me see. Sightseeing Panama. So that's us there. Okay. Crocodiles. So before going to see the canal, Omar took me up to the city of Cologne and some of the areas there. There is a city called Cologne. Some of you guys may have heard of it. There is a city called Cologne right at the top there near the Agua Clara locks. And I wanted to go there because I'd seen it in a video. It's mostly a black city. It's a mostly black city. Okay. The Panama City is very, very ethnically diverse, or it's more ethnically diverse. But Cologne here is it's a port city. It's an old port city. It's mostly black. Some would say that it's economically depressed. Okay. It looks kind of like, I guess Oakland or Flint, Michigan. Okay. There were industries there especially when the United States had control over the zone. But when the United States left, it's kind of fallen into disrepair to some degree, but it was nice. I enjoyed it. So we went to Cologne City. We went over here to let's see. There's the Puente Atlantico, and there's a beach over here. There's a beach over here near the Puente Atlantico, the Atlantic Bridge, and this is where the Agua Clara locks are. And Passport OG just asked about crocodiles, and sure enough, there was that beach was closed down because crocodiles had come ashore. Crocodiles had started coming ashore. And had started wreaking havoc. Okay, so sure enough, there was an abandoned beach right there on the Atlantic side. On that side, on that Cologne side, you could also see numerous ships washed up, old ships there in the just off the beach. So right there you could see the shipping port right there in the distance, but you could also see numerous older derelict ships sitting there in the offshore as well. Okay, so we got, even though that crocodile sign was there, Omar did take me out so we could just look a little bit, and so I was able to take some pictures of this. All right, and show. Go back over here, and I think for the remainder of this stream, I'll just bounce through some of these pictures, and then I'll wrap up because I'm at 10:17, and I have to make yoga class today. I didn't go last week, so this is I told you guys about the Chagres River, which feeds Gatun Lake. This is the mouth of the Chagres River. Okay, so this is taken from the San Lorenzo castle I just told you guys about, the fortress. So that fortress was there. The Spanish used that to guard traffic in and out of this river. They were guarding against pirates and corsair ships. Okay, so let me see what else I have here to show you guys. Let me see. So Agua Clara. So this is part of my thumbnail. This is a part of my thumbnail here, but the thumbnail, AI isn't always accurate. So this is the Agua Clara lock. Okay, so you have this beautiful tower here directing everything. If you look at those doors there, if you look at that yellow gateway, those are sliding gateways. Okay, they don't open in and out like this, like the old American locks. Those are sliding gateways. And so I was able to see a cargo ship lower and go out to the Atlantic side. That is the Puente Atlantic Bridge right there. It's a beautiful bridge. Okay, and then I was also there's me standing in the city of Cologne at the port, but I was also able to see get a view of Gatun Lake on the northern side at the Agua Clara lock. So that's Gatun Lake right there. It's very vast. It's very beautiful. It looks a lot different than it does on the map, on the Google map. So you can see there's a evergreen cargo ship there, and also there was a cruise ship, a Holland cruise ship, waiting to go through the lock after that cargo ship departed for the Atlantic. So I have some brief video footage here. My phone ran out of memory, but I'm going to show you guys a brief video of this ship going through. Okay. I'm going to hang out for another 10-15 minutes, guys. If you have any more thoughts or questions, let me know. So this is it. I cut these down to 1 minute. So here you'll see a tugboat helping to guide the cruise ship into the lock, and you'll see the ship going into the lock a little bit. And my phone ran out of memory, so I couldn't get the thing going up and down. Yeah, Aquateki, the next time I take a look at that, I will be prepared. I'll be better prepared to capture everything via video. He says Nerdy Me would be taking video of the lock gates in action. Yeah, so those gates, I think you can see on this next clip, you can see the ship actually going into the gate. It's slid open, so the ship could go in. You see those tugboats were guiding the ship through it. So this one is roughly a minute. I'll show a few more pictures, then I'll wrap the stream up. I had to turn the sound down because the camera picked up a lot of wind I didn't sense it when I was there, but the phone, it picked up all the. All right, here we go. So if you guys see where the tugboat is, you can see the yellow lines there. That's the first sliding gate. So once the ship got in, that slid shut. All right, let me go back. So they had a voice. I turned the sound down because of the wind, but they had a voice narrating the entire thing. And as the boat got into the lock, people on the boat were partying and music was playing. And if you look in the distance, going back to my tour guide, Omar, the American side is the American built locks, those Gatun locks, those are still in service because there were ships. We could see ships going across, but they were much smaller. They were much smaller. So these more modern Agua Clara locks, they can facilitate bigger ships, much larger ships. That's why they, in part, built them. I see two more comments here. Passport OG says, Doc, have you seen the Erie Canal? Is it similar? You know what, Passport OG? Having grown up in upstate New York, because I don't think they're in service as much or even anymore. I never really, we might have gone when I was in K through 12, but I've never gone to take a look at the Erie Canal that I remember. But, you know, you live, aside from maybe a school field trip, but maybe now that you mention it, maybe when I go home, I'll just drive up there and just, because I'm sure they have museums set up, but when you grow up in a place, you just don't think to go look at some of the things that are there. Probably similar to here. People here don't go look at the Washington Monument or the White House or the Capitol Hill or Jefferson. So, good question. Akutaki says the engineering behind what it takes to move those gates and pump all the water must be a sight to behold. Yeah. And I think another advantage of the new locks that Panama built, part of it is recycling the water into the lake. So I think they have a way of recycling the water that's lost. Yeah, because the ships are going out, they're being lowered, so the water is going out. So retaining some of that is a very, very big deal. Okay, and that makes sense. All right, a few more pictures, and then I will wrap up. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me here. Let me know if you have any more thoughts on any of this. Passport OG says, "Yeah, talk about an amazing field trip." Yeah, it was fun to see, and I think it's interesting, and I'll probably talk about this on my main channel. I didn't grow up with international travel, so it is cool to see life outside of where you live. I mean, I mean, we're hearing about all the stuff that we hear about in the United States, the president, the gender relations, your life here becomes paying bills, but there's life outside of here. There are people who are living outside of here, living different lives. Some things are similar, some things are different, but there's life outside of here in what we know as the United States. So, all right, a few more pictures, and then I'll wrap up because it's 10:29. You guys saw that. Yeah, that's me there at the Agua Clara Lock. Most of the cities in Panama have those signs. Okay, so the Agua Clara Lock, they had their sign. Okay, and there's an entry fee. This is considered a tourist attraction. There's that same cruise ship right there in the background, getting ready to go into the lock, so it could go into the Atlantic Ocean. So there's let's see, there's the Agua Clara Tower. What else? Cologne. So here's me at Cologne. There's their sign that says hashtag visit Panama, and you can see those loading and unloading that unloading and loading machinery there in the background. Okay, so Cologne, I said that it's a mostly black city. It is. And one of the things my tour guide Omar said was that while it's considered a poor city now, interestingly, look for it at some point to gentrify and to become a more hopping place at some point. So gentrification, it seems to take place all over the world. So even in a depressed area like that, eventually it may become a vibrant community with a different population at some point. But the cruise ships, they make a stop here once they leave the canal, and there's a little port there with shops and stores and everything. That's Omar's uncle Ruiz. Okay, so he showed me around. He showed us around, and gave me the backstory on Cologne City and the people there. Okay, that is I think Omar called that a solo cat. It's a four-legged animal with a long tail that is unique to Central America. Okay, they also have deer down there. I didn't know they would have deer down there. That's another part of the Cologne port. Once again, there's another derelict ship that's washed up and is not going anywhere unless somebody takes it out. That's Cologne City right there. That's Cologne. So it looks mostly brown skinned people there. It looks a little older. It looks depressed, but we were fine walking around. We were in good shape walking around, and people were friendly, and yeah, it's something I had never experienced before, but there was a beauty to it there. Let me see. This is food his uncle Maine. There's some chicken. There's a pig tail right there. I don't really eat a lot of pork, but I tried it. And there's some rice and a plantain. So Omar really gave me a real authentic view of that part of the country. There's another picture of Gatun Lake. I think I showed you guys that already. I showed you this already. Is there anything I missed here? This is a view of the at the San Lorenzo Castle. That's looking out over the opening to the Chagres River, to the Atlantic Ocean / the Caribbean Sea. Okay. And this is Spain. This used to be owned by Spain. All right. And I think that is it. Let me check my slide deck here. Yeah, that's all of it. That's all of it. I have a lot of pictures, but I just picked out a few to show you guys. Hey, if you guys are ever looking for a tour guide, Omar with Sightseeing Panama, he's a good tour. They gave me a ride from the airport to the airport, and that was just one tour that I did with him. And that's what I wanted to see: Colón City and the San Lorenzo Castle and the Agua Clara Lock. So if you're ever going there and you want a tour guide, I recommend him. Just hit me up and I'll pass your info along. All right. Are there any? This was just something I threw together. The canal, the geography, the history, the aquatic life, the economics of it, the sailing Cape Horn, no longer having to sail around Cape Horn. I thought that this would be valuable to share here, and I'll probably do a longer talk on my original channel about some of the broader aspects. Let's see. Most Vet says, I always advise anyone and everyone outside of the U.S. Let me read that again. I always advise anyone and everyone to travel outside the U.S. It really opens the mind to diversity and the diversity of global cultures. Yeah. I agree. And it's important to, wherever you go, it helps to understand how to speak with the people there a little bit, at least a little bit. They're if they're getting a lot of United States visitors, then a lot of people there will know how to speak English, but some won't. And also to get a feel for the culture and immerse yourself in the culture, it's important. It's good to know how to be able to speak as well. And that's one of Passport OG's mantras. And that's important. I think Theo, did I hear that Theo speaks 7 languages? I can't imagine speaking 7. Mosfet says, great pictures, great photos, Doc. Thank you. Aquateki says, are the deer down there less suicidal than the ones in the U.S.? I think, Omar told me that the deer there are less suicidal. If they hear something, they will stay away. Tony says, those look great. Cynical Optimist says, thanks for sharing. Don't quote me on this. I thought I heard the other night Theo say that he spoke 7. But he did spend time in Japan, and now he's in South America, and so it's entirely possible. Passport OG says, how long does it take a ship to pass through the whole canal? Passport OG, I think it takes about 45 minutes to get through the Agua Clara Lock. So you put that's the northern side. multiply that times 2 on the Pacific side, and then you have to traverse the entire lake. So we'll ask Google, but since you asked that, oops. But the ship, once it takes about 45 minutes to go through each of those locks, but then you still have to travel the entire distance of the lake and that passage. So I believe it's a couple of hours. 2 to 3, maybe 3 to 4. Let's ask Google Maps or Google itself. Oh, I underestimated Passport OG. The time. This says a full transit through the 50-mile (80 kilometer) Panama Canal typically takes 8 to 10 hours. 8 to 10 hours. For a ship to travel from the Atlantic to the Pacific Ocean, while the actual direct passage takes most of the day, total wait times for non-reserved, non-scheduled vessels can sometimes take up to 4 days. Lee is still here. He says, "Where are you going next?" Well, Lee, my father always says, don't tell people what you're doing before you do it, because if you do, it won't happen. But suffice it to say, I'm thinking about that. I'd certainly like to return to Panama at some point, but there are other countries, many other Spanish-speaking countries, and then there are many non-Spanish-speaking countries to visit. So, I don't know. We'll see. I'm in thought about that right now. So, but that all has to be balanced out with finances and work duties and family responsibilities, and so. But I'm thinking about that right now. So, good question. Akuteki says yes. Still less time than going around the entire continent. Yep. And then, yeah, you bypass Cape Horn and the Drake Passage altogether. So that 8 to 10 hours is well worth it. All right. Does anybody else have any other comments or questions before I end the stream? Thank you for those hanging out here. This was just a little bit of a trip summary, a summary of my trip. Does anyone else have anything else they want to say or ask? If not, that's cool. Lee, is there? Do you recommend a next destination? And it was fascinating. At Tokyumen Airport, I mean, there were people coming in, going back to the United States or going back to maybe somewhere in Europe, but there were also a lot of people flying into Tokyumen and then flying down to Ecuador and Peru and Bolivia and Colombia. So yeah, there's a lot to see. The next time I do it, so I don't have the same snafu that I had with American Airlines and missing my connecting flight. Maybe I'll just do a direct from Dulles, because I think Copa flies down there direct. But Miami, I'll tell you what, even though I had to spend a night in Miami is fun too. Miami is a lot of, even just hanging out in a hotel that I had to book last minute, and then going to a nearby restaurant. Miami is itself a fun getaway spot as well. And the other thing, we hear so much about the immigration and people coming over, unscrupulous characters coming over from countries south of the border. It's interesting when you go to Miami, you see like here in Northern Virginia, and Lee Phillips can attest to this. Most of the Latin Americans I meet here in Northern Virginia and DC, they're from El Salvador, they're from Honduras, they're from El Salvador. A lot are from El Salvador. Some from Guatemala. They're from that Central America region. And they're phenotypically, they have certain phenotypic features. Okay. But Cubans, they, for the most part, well, you have brown skin Cubans and you have brown skin Puerto Ricans, but many of them in Miami, they look like Marco Rubio. They have that milk colored complexion. Okay. The dark eyes, the dark hair. Many of the ladies are very shapely. Many of the ladies are very, very shapely, but they all, what I'm saying is, I think in this country, there's a tendency to lump all Spanish speaking people together, but they all have different cultures. They all have different appearances, and they're not all the same. They're not all the same. Passport OG says, okay. Lee says, I just visited Quito, Ecuador. Nice. Okay. Lee, we'll talk offline. He said, a great place to visit. The Passport OG says, you need to see the maglev. It is about 6 years out. Passport OG, I don't know what that is. We'll talk offline. Sir Anthony says, nice presentation, Doc. Thank you for sharing. And then Lee says, Little Havana in Miami is fantastic. Yep. That's going down to Miami. That's a weekend getaway in itself. And then what's interesting, just hang out in the Miami International Airport, and it's amazing to see the people, all the different kinds of people walking by in the Miami International Airport. You see a lot of lovely sights in the Miami International Airport as well. Okay, I better stop before I get myself in trouble here, guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for hanging out. Passport OG says the maglev bullet train. Oh, is that the magnetic levitating train? Is that the significance of maglev? Which country is that, Passport OG? Is that in Asia, or is that in South America, or Central America? Aquateki says, you would like the maglev train, Dr. Dunbar, being a train aficionado. Yep, I love trains. I suspect this is probably in Japan or China, since they are whipping everybody in technology and innovation right now. Yep. China. Yes, it is. China will build it first, Japan in 2032. All right, everybody. Thank you for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe. My stuff is in the ticker if you want to make a donation. And you guys know that I've written a book. If you're new, the link to my book is in the description box. I won't go through the entire spiel right now because I have to run. So, hey guys, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, if you're on the replay gang, please leave any comments or questions below. As always, remember that your attitude determines your altitude. Always try to do your best. Take care, and I will talk to you all the next time. Bye-bye.